Hi everybody, I'm Duncan and I'd like to welcome you to my latest video blog. Once again, this jolly old camera, I suppose, on a brand new, fairly brand new tablet I've got. And if you don't get the presentation up and running, after a certain time, it starts it for you. It tells you to get on with it and stop dawdling, which is what people have been telling me all my life. But today, folks, I'm going to be talking about a lovely book that Universal horror fans will be very interested in. It's been out for a long time, I think nearly about 17 or 18 years, so I'm not going to win any prizes with reviewing a new book. And it's quite difficult to get hold of now, but hopefully there'll be a new print run soon. It's called Vampire Over London, and that's the book with Bela Lugosi on the front. The gentleman who wrote it, his name, I can never remember his full name, Frank J. Dello Stritto, and he was assisted in this by Alan Brooks. Stritto. I beg your Frank D. Dello Stritto and Andy Brooks. And this book deals with a rather basically obscure part of Bela Lugosi's career. He had massive success on stage in the 1920s with a stage production of Dracula on Broadway. And he, of course, played the parts in 1931 in the Universal horror film. Although the Dracula film did create a franchise, like most of the horror ones, like Frankenstein and The Mummy, Bela was not in any of the sequels, Dracula's Daughter, Son of Dracula, and sadly he didn't get the part in House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula, the two horror movies that brought the horror cycle basically to a close in 1944 and 45. However, he did play a couple of Dracula-ish type characters in Mark of the Vampire in 1935, which was MGM, and Return of the Vampire, which I think was for Columbia, in 1943, which had a talking werewolf in it. But it works. It's a really, really good film, and I'm not sure whether it's available on DVD at the moment. So he was playing Dracula's type characters, but of course, because it wasn't a Universal film and they owned the name Dracula, he couldn't call himself Count Dracula. So he only played Dracula on film again in 1948 in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, where he plays the Count again, and the old monsters are back. Lon Chaney is back as Larry Talbot the Wolfman, and Glenn Strange, who became famous as Sam the bartender in Gunsmoke. He reprised his role as the Frankenstein monster. He was the last actor to play the monster, and I think this is where his talents really shine. In House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula, he hasn't got a lot to do, but he excels here. In fact, he and Bela, I think, really steal the film from Abbott and Costello. Now, in 1951, Bela comes over to Britain. He's been over twice before. Once to make a film, The Mystery of the Mary Celeste, which was one of Hammer's first ever films. In 1939, he's back in Blighty to make The Dark Eyes of London, which is an incredibly gruesome movie for 1939. Very fine performances from everybody. And then in 1951, he comes over to reprise the old creaky Dracula play. I think there's a little bit of rewrite done, but not much. And of course, it is a very creaky play for audiences of 1951. But they do rehearsals, and it's hoped it will reach the West End sometime, which is a nice thing for everyone concerned if it does reach the West End, because it means that everyone can stay in the same place for hopefully a long period of time, i.e., several months. If it's touring the country, then you're not really going to stay. There's no point in staying more than a week in most of the big theatres, but even the small ones, probably just a few days. So they're constantly on the move by train and by with the scenery. Apparently, used to went round with the uh, with the cast, and Bela was now 69, and that wasn't old, but he wasn't a healthy man. I think he'd been severely injured in the First World War, and he fought for Hungary as an Axis power, I think, in those days. And the play, it's always been reported in so many stories about Bela, and this is totally incorrect, that the Dracula production was a disaster. No, it wasn't a disaster at all. It was what we basically call a modest success. It ran for 6 months, about 270 something performances. They had a lot of problems. Bella's the mist machine that made the mist, uh, atmospheric mist, was quite old, and it played up, and it caused Bella's uh, cape to catch fire a couple of times. And he had spare capes, but he had to cable his son in America and ask him to get a couple more sent over in case he ran out. I suppose the British, surely we had Dracula capes we could have supplied him with. I mean, I know we're short of everything after the war, but Bela couldn't get his favorite something or other. I think it was cigars, so he was a bit annoyed about that. But the production worked pretty well most of the time. Apart from the fire on the Cape, the bat that flew over the audience sometimes played up. The wire sometimes got caught, so the bat couldn't proceed, so it got stuck. And a couple of times the wire broke and it landed in the audience. But on the whole, the production went pretty well. Bela doesn't have the biggest part in the play. That goes to whoever played Von Helsing. But when he is on stage, Bela had a strong personality, and he pretty much most of the time held the audience in his grasp very comfortably. And he had a lot of joyous times during this 6 months, where he appeared at garden fetes, at special functions, signing autographs for charity, and he'd always go to the stage door after the production for any fans, most of them young kids who'd never seen the cinema Dracula, and sign autographs for the young people, and many of whom couldn't actually see Dracula because there were rules, like in the cinema, there were rules about who could and who couldn't see productions. Some said you had to be 16 to go and see to the theatre to see the production, but that didn't stop a few enterprising children from sneaking in, and a bit like in the cinema. I personally couldn't see any harm in anybody watching this. Apparently, he had a wonderful speech at the end of the play, and then a terribly wonderful laugh off when he was off stage, and so it was a very it was a lot of things were. I think it was quite fraught a lot of the time, but Bela seemed to like everybody, and everybody liked Bela. And when it became clear that Bela was not going to be able to carry on uh, with the production because he was very, very tired, um, it was somebody in that senior, I can't remember the name, was able to get him a film, a cinema film, which he'd been looking forward to and hoping that a film would come along sometime. He hadn't done a film for nearly 3 years. So he found himself at Nettleford Studios in Walton-on-Thames with Arthur Lucan to make Mother Riley Meets the Vampire. Certainly for us Brits, an important movie because it's the first movie that Dora Bryan was in. And also Richard Wattis, who would be also a very, very great leader. Both of these actors would flourish in comedy. And also it was the first film performance of Hattie Jakes, her first appearance in a film, although she doesn't have any scenes with Bela. And Bela found it a little bit frustrating acting with Arthur Lucan, who only ever appeared in front of him in his Arthur Riley makeup and costume. He never actually they never met with Arthur Lucan just looking like Arthur Lucan, which Bela found a little bit disturbing. You can't think that someone who plays Dracula would ever be disturbed by anything. But there's a lovely photograph of the cast and crew at the end of the film with Arthur Lucan as Mother Riley with his arm around Bela, where he's looking very happy. And Bela looks happy as well. The movie was really too British to do well in the States. And Bela, after attending the premiere for Scrooge with Alistair Sim in December 1951, he and his wife Lillian departed back to America. So the production Dracula never made it to the West End. But one of the things that comes through in the book is what a wonderful wife Lillian was to Bela. She looked after him all the time, made sure that he took his medication on time, always had a drink for him when he came off the set. He was a bit of a connoisseur. I think he liked, I can't remember what it was that he liked, but he always wanted a drink and a cigar waiting for him when he got off the set. So it wasn't a disaster at all. It was he was a Hollywood actor who was trying very, very hard to get his career back it had floundered, but he had found work difficult to get in the late 40s after Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is very strange because that was such a good film and he stole the movie, and yet they say you're only as good as your last movie. And it just didn't he just couldn't get any parts. He did stage reviews and things, but he did find the last, after coming back from Dracula, it was a struggle. I won't go into what happens, but read this fantastic book. I haven't given much away, because read the book. A lot of people cooperated and did interviews, including a lot of the people the general public who went to see the production, because sometimes even when the production a performance didn't go well, Bela held it all together, and people had come to see Bela. And there are people who today, now in their 70s and 80s, who were children when they saw the production, are still talking about it with great affection. And just to end, as I say, it's called Vampire Over London, which was the title of Mother Riley Meets the Vampire when it finally got shown in America, but it was cut to ribbons. But here is one of the best figure kits of Dracula, Bela Lugosi's Dracula, that you can get. It's the Aurora one, and the bats have fallen off the tree, and I'm going to have to glue them on. I haven't been feeding them properly. That's what's happened, and I'll probably get the wrath of the Count on me. But I had this kit when I think I was about 12 or 13, and I'm very fond of those. There are other kits much, much more detailed of Bela, but I think the Aurora one has a certain charm. Well, that's it, guys. Frank, I'm calling him Frank Dello Stritto, has written loads of books. He's written the mythology and history of classic horror films. Uh, his books are not easy to get hold of in the UK, much easier to get in the States because the cost of sending them over to UK is fairly expensive. But you can get them. He has advised me to try eBay. Um, but so if you like this presentation, please click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it'd be lovely to have you aboard. If you want to send this to a friend and share it with a friend, that'd be lovely as well. Well, everybody, you take care, and I'll see you all very soon. God bless.